Hi there, it's Rachel Martin, and you're listening to Parenting Teens Podcasts. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Today we've got a mum, and she's going to share the journey so far and hopefully some tips and things that will help other parents out there, because we all have our own journey, but we can all certainly learn off each other. Tell us a bit about like the statistics of your teen.
I've got two children, an 8-year-old and a boy who was 14 in February this year. And yeah, he's sort of become a teenager all through lockdown. That's the statistic.
Nice, the nice angle of he became a teenager and it was lockdown. Yay!
Yay! Yeah.
Not quite as exciting as a lottery win, but nonetheless, what you've got through, so that's wicked.
Yeah, we're all still alive, so that's good.
Win-win. Excellent. So obviously he's 14, you're stepping deeper and deeper into the teen world of things, and I've obviously got you on here as a parent to share your journey. So what would you say is one of the biggest things that surprised you from watching like your boy grow up and to now be at the stage where he's 14?
I think the biggest surprise is how quickly he became a teenager and
Okay.
how unprepared we were as parents, and yeah, just how we reacted to that really, and the growth that we've had to do as parents really,
Oh,
having a teenager in the house. Yeah, I think, yeah, so we used to laugh about a sketch that most people our age know, Kevin and Perry, when this young man goes to bed really politely saying good night mummy and daddy, and wakes up the next morning this teenager. And I don't think we believed that would happen to us, and it did. And not every day, but yeah, I think that change is unexpected for, when it's your first teenager, and it's quite a surprise.
yeah, definitely. The reality kind of hits, doesn't it? In one big slap in the face almost. Bless them.
Definitely, definitely.
So, what would you say from your point of view? What were you thinking at this point as a parent? Like things are changing drastically in front of you. How did that affect you as a parent?
I think I was really worried about how, what the best way of parenting it was.
Yep.
All up until that point, there's so much out there that is, really holistic as far as parenting, nutrition, discipline, and up until that point, it's easy, but then you're dealing with a person who's becoming who they are,
Mm,
and you just want to do the best job that you can, but in the full knowledge that you're unprepared. And yeah, and I think I just noticed how much of my own immaturity was coming out in dealing with a teenager. And so, yeah, knowing that I was not only watching my child go through a journey, but that I was just put on another parenting journey myself. It was, yeah, that was a shock.
it's so lovely of you to be so honest about the fact that, so often we see the change in them and it's like, oh, how am I supposed to cope? But actually, you're dead right. It causes a change in you as well. And it's really hard to kind of notice it when things are so up in the air. So, from your point of view, what do you think kind of helped you through this? What were the strength points for you to be able to help you to take your journey whilst your team's trying to work out who they are?
One of the things that I started to do, because I don't think I handled it very well for quite a long time,
Okay.
and I was not being kind enough to my child.
Okay.
And so I started reading like you do.
Yeah.
Even when you've got an infant, you just start reading, don't you? Think, okay, how can I handle this? Because I think one of the things that as parents we all need to recognize, and sometimes you forget, is that your children are individuals. And when some of the stuff I was reading online just sounded too fairy tale for our family, because we're all really open. Everybody expresses themselves quite easily, and
Yeah.
things will easily turn into a heated discussion here. Just because
Yeah.
everybody's, I have fairly confident kids who don't have any fear in saying how they're feeling, and I think it was me trying to manage my reactions and realizing that I did have to grow up to in order to parent
Wow.
my teen. And it was really hard, I have to say, because you sit back and you reflect on how you behaved in some of the situations. And sometimes it's really difficult to realize that you haven't possibly done it right. It's
Yeah.
and yeah, that was really hard to deal with. But once you start doing that, and I think it then opened up more conversations that were really difficult for me,
Okay.
saying, could we have done this better? Those conversations with a teenager are so hard as a parent, because you don't want to admit to this little person that that you're not doing things the right way. But for us, it helped.
I think it gives you that almost that alliance of like it's not always that straightforward, and that's okay. But if
Mm,
you ignore it, it's not going to change. It's not going to get any better. It kind of goes
yeah.
further than just being able to fix it for your family. I think it's a really important thing to do, but it's so hard to
Oh, it's
find.
really, and it still is,
Yeah,
and this will be ongoing,
yeah,
because different things change, don't they? With me, I have difficulty letting go,
okay,
letting someone go off and do their own thing. I can be
yeah,
really controlling, and I know that, but I'm quite willing to admit it if someone says, because we've had conversations over the years with both of my kids, oh, but everybody else was allowed to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what I'm like, and I can't
yeah.
help it, and it's nothing to do with you. It's all about me. And they've
Oh,
they've been
bless
really
you.
good at they've been really good at knowing that I'm not doing it because of anything to do with them, that it's just me thinking, no, I'm happy with this. I think is really important, the fact that all of this stuff takes time, and it seems like it's a really ongoing journey. There's no solution that for every part of this, for
No,
sure.
and none of it's gonna, I guess it's, that first conversation is difficult, uncomfortable, probably a bit clunky when it happens, but it's not going to bring an immediate effect either that all of a sudden you're both on the same page and wow, that's amazing, it's all fixed. It's
No,
that
no, you're still looking at
realization.
each other going, are we speaking to each other? Do we like each other today? How's it going to go? And yeah, and I think the I think our kids are a lot more astute than we realize. Some of the personality traits that I've had that have been brought to my attention by my teenager can be quite uncomfortable at times as well. And that's hard to hear, because that's the thing. Once you start these honest conversations, you then have to be prepared.
Yeah.
Damning feedback. You're like, oh my God, you're right. And it's really hard to hear. But I guess that's the problem, isn't it? Is that that's what they're hearing their whole life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're just getting a portion of it. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that you forget about that age is that they're trying to find out who they are. And if
Yeah.
you don't give them enough freedom, they won't. But if you don't give them enough security, they won't either. So it's finding that balance, and it's really, really difficult.
That's something I come up against a lot. Like there's friends that they have or the decisions that they make that you kind of think, oh, why are you doing that? How do you deal with those sort of conflicting situations where you have to step back to not go poking your nose in?
I think the thing that's really helped is honesty.
Okay, yeah.
And I think I ask a lot of questions all the time of all of my people. Because I just, I do. I'm like, well, what's happening? And I won't let go until I hear
Right.
what I want to hear.
Yeah.
So that's been learning as well, is, you know, oh, well, tell me there's been different things that have happened. And I know I've asked the question too many times.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get, stop asking me about this. I have nothing more to say. You're not getting
Yeah.
any more. And I'm like, oh, really? And you have to respect the boundaries that your child are putting up. And that is hard.
Yeah. I can't
When
even
they
imagine.
say, I don't want to discuss this with you anymore, my
Yeah.
natural reaction is to get mad. But what I'm getting mad at is myself, because half of you's like, respect their privacy. And the other
Yeah.
half's like, but I gave birth to this human. I need to know what's going on. And yeah, I often wonder, with a normal, I don't know, what is normal, but in a
Yeah.
regular parenting a teen situation,
Yeah.
I often wonder how much learning there is for the parents. You got to wonder, who is the teenager? Is it the child or is it the parent?
It sounds like from you being able to see the points where it tripped you up have kind of helped you to reflect back to almost hedging your bets when those situations rise, that your instinct's going to tell you one thing, but actually you've got to be fully aware of where that might go and where that will lead.
Yeah, and it's really difficult reflection too, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much how you're meant to react. You can't help
Mm,
who you are as a person, just like
yeah.
your child can't help the transition they're going through. You
Mm.
will have a natural first reaction, and yeah, and facilitating a conversation where you apologize for your behavior is really difficult. It's not easy to do.
Especially if they reflect back the points about you that you know, but you've hidden for so many years, and now they're
Exactly.
finding them.
Think,
Yeah.
oh no, my child's getting to know who I really am. This is
Yeah.
really dangerous territory.
Didn't need it. Didn't need it. But in reality, so I guess the flip side is, with you being able to have this open and honest situation, when things are not fractious and going okay, how do you feel that's adapted your relationship outside the moments of discomfort?
You look at the person,
Hmm.
and it feels like you're actually getting to know your child. So
Oh,
down, underneath all the arguments and the angst and the drama, you think, oh, you're going to make such a nice person,
oh.
and because a lot of the strengths that our children have, I believe, are the things that drive us crazy when
That's
you're
really interesting. Yeah.
parenting it. But deep down, some of the things that I've had reflected back on my character,
Mm.
I've actually thought, you're so observant and you're so right. And it's really hard, but you think, wow, how, although I'm feeling like I want to run away right now because I've had that reflected back at me, I think, I feel, yeah, quite proud that they understand, there's an understanding there. Yeah, you realize that your child has an awareness that is part of this growing up, that,
Yeah.
yeah, is difficult for you to reflect upon, but actually you respect the fact that they've got a better understanding of what's happening. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what you spent years bringing them up to do. You want them to have that ability when you're not there every day. That's the independence, confidence, that's all the stuff they need to be an adult. So it's really hard, like you say, if it's in your face. I'm sure
Mm.
that's the moment of like, ugh, of all the places to use it, me. But it does show you that somewhere you did get it bang on. You've given them the ability to see that, and therefore identify parts of people that are great, that are not so great, understand personality, all that stuff that doesn't come from math, science, and English, to be perfectly
Mm.
honest. So,
Yeah, because some of
yeah,
the conversations you have when you're getting on, some of the
yeah,
conversations that I've had, I just think, you're yeah, you're just so amazing.
yeah,
And
awesome.
you don't always feel like that, do you? Do you know what I
No,
mean? But yeah, sometimes. And yeah, and just how the perspective and the understanding, you think, goodness me, you've nailed that. Yeah, knowing that one more human knows you that intimately, and your weaknesses and stuff, it's not easy, is it?
no. Well, for someone who means the world to you, and to be honest, you've only ever really shown them your strengths. Like you say, it's a really interesting point to think that, yeah, they start to navigate all the bits of you that you've never had to show them. And sometimes without you even showing them. Like it sounds like with you, some of the times it wasn't even choice, it was just
Mm-mm.
instinct that took over. And they were like, oh, I recognize that. Like, no.
They know they've got a feisty Australian mum, but to see it really come out,
Yeah.
is and I think that's That's one of the things, is you need to recognize that sometimes your reactions aren't going to be what you want them to be, and you have
Yeah.
to. But even when you try, it's just recognizing that it's not always going to be perfect. That you
Yeah.
might, you do have to sit down and think, God, that did not go well
Yeah.
at all. And I think, sometimes, because I've got, relatives and Australian parents,
Yeah.
like parents in Australia that I speak to about this, because
Yeah.
Australians and British people are different, aren't they? It's simple. And
Okay.
it's just so reassuring to speak to them, because I'll have conversations and I'll think, my God, will we get on? I want to make sure that. And they're like, yeah, we all had arguments with our kids as well. It's cool, it's normal. And you're like, because I found that people aren't often very honest over here, whereas in Australia they're far too honest. Do you know what I mean? You've got these huge spectrums where, and speaking
Yeah.
to my sister-in-law in Australia has been so valuable, because she's now got 2 teenage sons that I absolutely adore and wish I could see more. Yeah, and
Oh,
I know that they went through a similar thing, and it's just really reassuring.
it's really interesting to hear the polar sides of it. And to be honest, I guess that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do stuff like this, because you just don't genuinely hear how it can be for different people, and knowing that it is difficult and there is a way, and it will change. It's just a moment in time. So find your way through with whatever works for you. Google's got so much, it can turn you blind by
I know,
trying
and
to
some of
find
it
things.
is just some of it's too much, and some of it's too perfect.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
thinking, is this for real? Does this person actually have a teenager? Is
Chances are
this,
no.
it's like, is this woman saintly? Am I? It just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know if this methodology will work in my family
Yeah.
setting. You
Nicely
know,
put.
yeah, you think, yeah, perhaps this is, this won't work for us. But yeah, it's been really reassuring to have these conversations with people who've come out the other side and have lovely kids,
Yeah. Good.
and who admit that they possibly didn't get things right all the time, but it didn't. Because I think that's one of the things that you worry about too, is if you really, all of us do, but if you really do want to have a relationship with your kids long term, you don't want to ruin it. You just
Yeah.
want to think that in a couple of years' time, you will be a major part of these beautiful humans' lives, and
Yeah.
that's the thing, isn't it? You just want to have them as a friend
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
term, whilst being their parent now. And yeah, it's hard. And I think that's the conversations that I have with my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, whatever, I've done this, and she's like, oh, it's all cool. It's all fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You
Excellent.
think, oh, that's nice to know. Yeah. Oh, well, we went
Yeah.
through that. That happened to us. Rah rah rah. Yeah, it's nice to hear. And I think one of the things that I read that I found really useful
Hmm.
was that when you feel like your teenagers are pushing away the most,
Yeah.
is when you need to put yourself in a position where you have to be really available
Okay.
and almost more there for them. And that is
Okay.
hard. So when they're pushing you away, and when they're being more open with you and vocal, or not speaking to you, or causing you to feel anxious about things, is
Yeah.
when they need you there the most. And that's quite easy to read, but in practice it's difficult to apply. But you have to do it,
Yeah.
where you think, yeah, it's almost as if when they're screaming and yelling at you, they almost need you to hug them. And of course
Yeah.
that goes against both of how you're feeling at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still children, but they're adults, and you have to find that balance as a parent. And whereas I would just withdraw. That's my thing. I just withdraw. If I'm not happy, I'll go. It's like,
Yeah.
no discussion, no thought about it. I'm not happy, I'm out. Of course, you
Okay.
can't do that with your teenager, can you? So yeah, it's that growth for me of, I have to become closer to this person who's making me want to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been really hard. That's been really hard, because it goes against all my natural instincts of just saying, I'm out. I don't want to talk to you
Done.
anymore. But I think,
Yeah.
you have to talk even more. You have to be there for them even more. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, I don't know which which teenager I'm parenting, myself or the actual teenager. You
I think
think,
it's
yeah,
both.
I know. I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, and that's I think once you realize what your strengths and weaknesses are, then it makes it easier going forward. Doesn't make it
Yeah.
perfect, but yeah,
No, but it gives you a shot, doesn't it? And it gives you a bit of something to add. Would that be like your one piece of golden nugget advice?
one of my friends, because I was talking to her about it,
Hmm.
she said that when she was going through a similar thing, she put
Mm.
all the things she loved about her child on their door,
Oh, wow.
so that when they were arguing, she would be faced with all the lovely things about this person.
Oh,
So I did that mentally
yeah.
because I didn't think that it would work here.
Yeah.
And it does. You think about all those things that you love, go right back in the archive of,
Yeah.
when they were tiny, and the things that haven't changed about them that you still absolutely adore. And often it's things that are really annoying, but things that you love. And I think that visualizing that little person that you love, because they're
Yeah.
still that little person, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that helped me too, is you still have a child.
Yeah.
You're dealing with an adult, but it's still a child, and that really helps you ground yourself and
Yeah.
think, this is still this baby that I absolutely love and adore. And this is
Yeah.
just another stage that we have to get
Yeah.
through, like potty training and feeding and weaning and disciplining and the naughty step. You just have to, I think, viewing it like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that was a really good piece of advice. And the advice about taking them on long walks or car journeys,
Yeah.
that's invaluable. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it's fantastic. You actually
Yeah.
spend time with that lovely person and letting
Yeah.
them talk, like shutting up yourself and letting them talk, which is really hard for me. That's good advice. And yeah, and just sometimes just recognizing that you're probably parenting a few of your own weaknesses as well, which isn't easy. And that, every household is going through a similar thing. The amount of people that I've spoken to have said, "Oh, our neighbor, I heard them screaming at their teenager, but he's such a lovely boy." And I've heard that so many times recently, and it's really reassuring,
Yeah.
because often they will be themselves at home where they feel safe, and
Yes.
then everyone else is like, "Oh, they're so great." And
Yeah.
although it feels difficult, it's nice. It's nice. Yeah, you've created this safe space where they can be themselves. So you need to
And
maintain that. I think every parent just needs to know that it's not easy, and we will get through it.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's the reflection on your own reactions and behavior too. I think it's really difficult to look at, isn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of it is managing, like, everything, because you're a therapist, aren't you? A lot
Yeah.
of this is managing your reactions to anything, isn't it? It's all
Yeah.
about us dealing with situations in an adult,
Yeah.
reasonable way. And I think what the difficulty I've found is that is not always how I react. And it was very difficult to realize. And if there's one parent out there that feels the same, that can relate to me, then that's our job done, isn't it?
Thank you so much for all this advice. I think it's definitely going to help people out there who are going into or right in the middle of the teen journey at the moment. There are so many things to think about. So just getting another perspective, I think, is really powerful and really, really helps people to find what will work for them. So fingers crossed for more of those deep, meaningful conversations,
Yeah,
less of the having to fess up to your flaws.
exactly. Yeah, less reflection on me, please.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. And hopefully everybody else who's been listening to this appreciates it too. So thank you.
Pleasure.
So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you'd like to hear more episodes, please make sure you click subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. If you've got any feedback or any subjects you think you'd like me to talk about in the future, please honestly get in touch. I'm Inner Strength on Facebook, Parenting a Teen on Instagram, and My Inner Strength is my website. I hope you have a fantastic day and find some motivation to help make your life happier. Thanks ever so much. Bye.